Right, it is time for lunch. And I believe we need to move the cam a little bit. Hallo? Hey, zwaaien. Hey? Hallo? Zeg je hallo? Hallo? He's stricken by the fact that he sees himself on the cam. Isn't that cute? Yep. And we're gonna eat, so we got a sandwich in front of him, and he's like, we're gonna eat, right? So. Let me move the cam just a little bit to the side so you can see him a little better. There we go. I like it. Alright, and I think everything is audible, right? Like this, so... Lekker boterham, hè?
Worst?
Ja. Welke wil je eerst? Kaas of worst?
Worst.
Worst? Alright.
Kaas.
Oh, kaas, okay. So he's got a ham sandwich and a cheese sandwich, which are two things that he really loves, as you can see.
Worst. Kaas. Oh, kaas.
Lekker.
Oh, kaas. Worst.
So we can also do Dutch lessons while we're doing this, right? So the word kaas is the Dutch word for cheese, as you might have imagined. Heb je kaas?
Worst. Worst.
worst. And the word worst means, well, it means meat, but in a, we got a couple of words for the word meat. Worst is basically the stuff that you put on a sandwich, so like ham or a salami or anything that you put on the sandwich. So sandwich meat, basically. We call that worst. Happyworst?
Oops. Oops.
Oh, here you go. Lekker, hè? Lunchtime is always so enjoyable. So relaxing. Also, I don't believe I put my bot on, which is one of those things that you kind of have to do when you're streaming. I tend to forget it every once in a while, so let me quickly turn on my bot. There we go. At least you'll get notifications when you would expect them. There we go. Ben jij kaas of worst?
Oops.
Worst. So he's at an age right now where it's also important to teach him how to make decisions a little bit. I mean, obviously he's not a good decision maker just yet, because he's not even 2. But it's good to introduce him to that he has a say in things, right? He doesn't have to. I don't have to force feed him a sandwich. He can eat what he wants, within the limits, the confines that I set as a parent, of course.
Niet. Papa.
Yep. Ik ben papa. En wie ben jij?
Kijk.
Ja, Lester.
Drinken.
En dat is drinken. Ja. The word drinken means to drink or a drink. And we got some milk for him today. Wil je wat drinken? Of ben je happy?
Happy.
Happy?
Oops.
Worst. So that's another word that we taught him. The word happy. Here you go. Means a bite. And you can use it with everything. So with like with dinner time, he doesn't scream across the table that he wants food or whatever. He's not crying. He's not yelling. He's just pointing at the food and he's like happy, which is, if you want to take him to a restaurant, that is better than him shouting across. What are you doing?
Drinken.
Drinken? No.
Happy.
He wants something to be happy. We drinken.
Drinken.
Yeah. Okay, so something to drink then. We got some milk for him. Yep. We're also slowly teaching him how to drink from a cup. So instead of like using a straw or whatever, he learns how to drink from a cup. He's getting there. Every once in a while, he just throws the cup away, drink contents and all that. So then my whole place would be covered in milk. So I'm holding on to it for now. But he's starting to learn how to use a cup himself.
Bye.
Welke wil je hebben?
Happy.
Appie, ja? Met vlees of kaas?
Kaas.
Kaas.
Oops.
Nou, worst. Nou, goed. But he's a good eater. He's he's almost 2, and he eats 2 sandwiches, like 2 sandwich slices, which is good. That's slightly more than what other kids around his age eat. But he's also taller. He's a bigger boy than the rest, so he can use the energy. Yeah. Hallo.
Kaas.
Yes. Yum 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 yum. Hé? Ja, dan gaan we zo klap. Ja. Hé? Dan gaan we zo op de tafel zetten. Oh, he's mimicking everything. I love that. It's so cute. Wat wil je hebben? Kaas?
Oops.
Worst. That's also part of his daily routine. Whenever he wakes up in the morning, Like, first off, he's not a morning person. So, well, he is once he's woken up, but his process of waking up reminds me of me. When I open my eyes, first thing is like, oh god, not again, and then give me like 10 minutes, and then I'm okay. He has that too. After that, he's actually pretty much a morning person. He's very energetic. He's also a kid, you know. But what's very enjoyable is when he's woken up and he's awake, if you will. He will start listing everything he can eat, everything that he knows the word of. So he starts his day with saying like cheese, sandwich, potatoes, carrots, and like there's like, I don't know, like 80 to 100 words, and he lists all of them before his day starts. He needs to list all of them. It's really cute. Obviously, when you present him with something else to say, then he will do that. But if you don't, if left by himself, he will just say the entire list of all the things that you can eat, which I think is cute. Okay. Wil jij een appie? Wat moet je hebben? Wat is dat? Wat is dat? Wat is dat? Hang on, guys. What's this? What is this over? Happy? Bo, ja. Happy? Kijk eens. Lekker, hè? Oh. Nee, kom eens, kom eens, kom eens, kom eens. Dat gaat niet. Kom eens. Ik heb de kaas aan het vallen. Zo. Kom eens. Krijg je er nog eentje? Hè? Is het leeg? Ja, goed zo. En hap. En hap. Goed zo. Grote jongen. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have never thought that I would enjoy just, you know, giving a kid lunch like this. And now looking back on it, you can't say if you're gonna like this or not when you don't have a kid. And that sounds, you know, in some way it sounds high and mighty, like, you know, you don't know if you don't have a kid. I don't mean it like that, obviously, but if you do have a kid, you sort of grow into this rhythm that you have with him, and I mean, it's so much fun. Children are really the spice of life. They're so much fun. They're a reason to live. If you're looking for, if you look at your own life and you're like, okay, so what is my reason of existence? Things like, you know, a job comes to mind, or loving one another. Those are all very good reasons to live. To me, I don't want to say I had a midlife crisis, because I have a feeling that I didn't have that one just yet. But I had a moment around when I was 30. I had a moment where I thought, you know, what is my purpose? What is my reason of existence? Why am I here? You know, I had a loving wife, and I still do. And you know, I have a good life. But what are you doing? Eh? Happy? No, but I have a good life, and I enjoy it. But sometimes you do wonder, like, okay, so why am I here? What am I doing here? And honestly, when we got Lester, that question was filled in for me. Like, my sense of purpose is my child. It is. Like, that gives me, if I would, like, I hope to grow to be 100 years old in good health. I mean, who wouldn't? But if if tomorrow would be my last day, I can live, die, in the comfortable feeling that I have, you know, I've done something that matters, which is sitting right there. And I hope to see him grow, and I hope to see what he's gonna do with his life and all that. Like, definitely. But if I don't, I can rest in the comfort of knowing that I got a kid, and you know, and that's right. And what's what? Baby, what? Ga je doen? Oh, niet zo trekken. Poep. Nee? Zo. Zo. Weet je dat? Oh, hey, hello, the Game Fox. How are you? Thanks for the raid. Welcome. We were just playing a little game. One more time, Ah, so enjoyable. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, you redeemed a Papa hug. Oh, hang on. We got to do that. I don't have anything to hug. Well, I can hug my kid. So hang on. You're gonna get a hug. You need a hug from me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Thanks for redeeming that hug, Game Fox. I got channel points since yesterday. I'm so happy that they're finally working. It's so enjoyable. I love your look. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, Super Netty. I wanted to make sure that I pronounce your name correctly. Happy? Channel points are super fun. I need to think of something to do with them. One of them, the hug was actually a suggestion of one of my viewers. I kind of like that. But I had a couple of other things that I added in there. Like, the obvious one is a dad joke, you know, so redeeming dad jokes is I figured that was something that had to go with my channel. I mean, I see some people going as far as when you redeem like 10,000 points, they'll send you a personal postcard. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know if I want to do that, but it's interesting. Like, you know, that's a fun thing to do. Also, Super Nifty, thank you so much for the follow. I totally skipped over that, but thank you for the follow, and welcome to the family. Happy? Let's see, yeah.
Happy?
There we go. Oh, that's pretty fun. I just saw your message in Discord. I was streaming right before you. Ah, okay. Good to see you again. Sin, hello. How are you? That's been a hot minute. Good to see you again. Yeah, I figured, you know, on Wednesdays are my daddy day off, so I have a day to take care of him. In part because, you know, it's cheaper to do it yourself and to take a day off work than to actually hire a nanny, because nannies are really expensive in the Netherlands. Unless you want an unprofessional one, which I don't want to. So it's cheaper to do it yourself. Plus, you also, you know, see him grow and you know, be a kid. So between, you know, choosing to work 40 hours a week to, you know, retire when I'm, I don't know, 70... That's going to be roughly the age. Or, you know, maybe retire at 72, but then have the option to actually see my kid grow one day a week. That wasn't a hard choice to make. So I'm really enjoying my daddy days off. And I figured, you know, lunchtime is one of those moments where we have to sit down and where we're, you know, relax. He's, you know, sitting in one spot. I figured I could stream this, you know, and it's fun to just, you know, add him in. Because my channel does say... Papa Zillion sometimes featuring Mini-Me, and I figured he's never here. So this is a way to incorporate him into the channel, because, you know, I did make that promise. And here he is. Happy? No? Happy? Yeah? Happy? Happy? Yeah? Happy?
Happy?
Happy? Happy? It's so much fun. Alright, so hang on, let me catch up on chat. Can you repeat what you said the past minute? I just had migraine. Aww. Well, I basically just had a rant on having a kid, basically. Super fun way to spend time with him. I agree. He's very much enjoying lunch. Oh, he is God. There's two things that he enjoys during his day. Lunch is one of them, and dinner is the other. And children sometimes have an obsession with something, and you find that out as they grow. With him, believe it or not, it's the vacuum cleaner. Most children are very afraid of a vacuum cleaner. He adores it, so much even, that we bought a miniature vacuum cleaner for him to play with. So you're Dutch? I am definitely Dutch, yes. And I'm trying to raise my child bilingual. So I give him a little bit of English and a little bit of Dutch, but most of it is Dutch, because I don't want to confuse him at this age. He's almost 2, and I blend in English words every once in a while. To get him accustomed to the sound of it, but I'm not teaching him English just yet. I'm gonna wait for 1 or 2 years before we're gonna get into English. But I want him to be bilingual, because, he's gonna need it in today's society. Thank you. Yum, 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 yum. Moist. They do learn by watching us, oh god, and he's in the age right now and he copies everything. Literally everything. I start dancing, he starts dancing. I'm running around, he's running around. I'm pointing at something, he's pointing at something. Everything. Here, watch this. Yeah? Huh? Hey. Ja, ga je muziek maken. So what's on the menu today? He has 2 slices of bread, one with castle root, which is a form of ham, and one with cheese. Because he knows most of the things that he can get on the sandwich, and he can always pick himself, unless he picks pasta. Because, Nutella or whatever is fun for once, but during lunch he needs to eat something healthier. So he can pick himself, but if he's like, I want cheese and, I don't know, what's another thing he sometimes eats? Because usually it's ham and cheese is one thing that he really likes. Sometimes something like tomato. If he wants tomato on it, it's fine. He get that. And he's I want to give him a little bit of a freedom that he understands that he has an option to pick himself within the confines that I give as a parent, of course. But that gives him a sense of belonging, right? That's fun. English will be easier later. Staying with Dutch for now is great. Yeah, I agree. I like Dutch people. I think it's politeness and professionalism I see in Dutch people. Well, thank you. I do value that. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. My family spoke only Greek till I was 4, but I retained very little. But you've... But you're not living in Greece, are you, Sin? You are living in the States, right? But then your family's Greek, but living in the United States or Canada. Was it Canada? No, you were in the States, I believe. Help me out with that. In Vegas, yeah, of course it was Vegas. Duh. Within reason. Well, if I ask him what he wants on his sandwich, the first thing he says is pasta, and pasta is basically Nutella. Which I understand, he's a kid. And then I'm like, no, not pasta. And he's like, okay, appelstroop, which is apple... What's stroop? It's sort of like an apple syrup. It's healthier than syrup, but it's still syrupy. It's very, very sugary. And sometimes you can get that for breakfast. Sometimes, but not for lunch. So those are the first 2 things that he mentions, and afterwards it's like cheese or ham or whatever. And that's fine. I was born and raised in England, but I live in the US, dual citizenship. Alright. That's going to be, the last thing I want to do is get political, especially during lunchtime. But that's going to be interesting with the Brexit, right? The dual citizenship. That's going to, have an effect on that, I think. Kind of like a marmalade. It's marmalade, but they're made of apple. Yes. I'm familiar with a few Dutch foods. Well, there you go. Another thing which is a staple of the Dutch... Another thing which is a staple of the Dutch breakfast is a sandwich with chocolate sprinkles called hagelslag. It's really unhealthy, but for some reason that's been a thing for the last 100 years. Only the last 10 years people are starting to get aware, like, maybe we shouldn't give our children chocolate and sugar for breakfast. I hardly give it him anymore. Maybe like in the weekend for once, but other than that, I do try to get it a little bit more healthy. It doesn't have to be completely 100% vegan perfect. He can eat something bad as well. He's human, but within reason. Oh, je vergeet de kaas. Zo. Appelschap is something I've seen. There you go. I've also heard of that. Yeah. Hagelslag is it's very Dutch. What really got my attention in Dutch food? When things really, it wasn't bad, times change. Yeah, that's true. So what really got your attention in Dutch food then? Please tell me it's cheese. Or raw herring. That's another one of those things, right, that we have. I guess they figured if it got kids to eat. Yeah, it was like, a sandwich with chocolate sprinkles and a glass of milk. That was the staple of a Dutch breakfast. And then Papa usually just had a cup of coffee and a cigarette, That was the equivalent of an adult breakfast. Dutch meatballs with gravy. I believe it's called gehaktballen met jus. Yep, it is indeed. Funny story. I currently work at because I'm a consultant, so I work in assignments. And the current assignment I have is at a national bank. And a lot of my colleagues over there are Indian. So they get flown in for a couple months and then they go back. And nee, is it happy, nee? Happy? I don't believe he has enough. Moet je anders wat drinken? Yeah. So my Indian colleagues, they fly out like for a couple of months and then they go back. So usually when they go back, we give them like a little something as a present. Now, usually we do try to make it something Dutch because that's fun. So one of my colleagues, a couple of months ago, we gave a Dutch cookbook. And honestly, I know how to cook, but I don't cook from a cookbook. So I never really saw a Dutch cookbook. We went to buy one. Would you believe that thing was only 60 pages? Because the Dutch cuisine is, it's hearty, but it's simple. Like, we don't have anything extravagant like the French or whatever, where you get like a 400-page cookbook. No, the only thing we have is stampot, which is basically mashed potatoes and vegetables, usually combined with either a sausage or with a gehaktbal, so a meatball with gravy. And that's it. It's just plain and simple and cheap. So, very Dutch. Hey there, Jess. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for following.
There you go.
Breakfast of Champions. Oh, yeah. Hi, Papa. Hello, Jess. After a quick, it's 3 AM and Sin is calling me, so I'm going to be lurking. But that's perfectly fine, game folks. Go ahead and take some rest, because you've been streaming as well, so you might want to take a little time off. Lekker, hè? Ja. Oh ja? Oh ja? Wat wil je dan? Nee. Moet nog een happy? Heb je nog een happy? Ja. Look at the cute baby. He is wonderful, isn't he? Huh? How are you guys doing? We're doing wonderful. Happy? Nee? Okay. That's so useful. Like, he's at an age right now where he actually, if he doesn't want something, he just says, nee. He gets very stoic. He's like, no. Just like his papa. I should be here already, have baby fever. Well, Jess, you are at an age, right? It's the age where that starts up. I don't even know, like, and you don't have to disclose that, of course, if you want to, but do you have a relationship? Are you married, or do you have a relationship or anything like that? Because, usually that doesn't help with the baby fever. The more I learn about cultures, the more I learn culture is a universal human thing, so fun to learn. The basis of all cultures is the same, and I think that is beautiful, and I think that is something that as a species we should focus on. That is, unfortunately something that, well, not everyone agrees with, but we shouldn't look at our differences, we should look at what makes us similar, and there's a lot that makes us the same. We're all human, right? I mean, a baby here or a baby in Kenya or a baby in, I don't know, like in India, it's the same. Happy? Hey, wanna happy? Yeah? I think he's about done. I'm single. Okay, well, it's still, that doesn't help. I was a clever baby that kept finding ways to do things such as open doors, operate the computer, and causing trouble for my parents. My kid has recently learned how to open a door, and oh god, that is scary. The other day, I was just sitting here and I just heard a door opening, like in the hallway, and I was like, huh? That's Lester. Oh god. I was a legit princess when I was his age. He's a smarty pants. He's a know-it-all. Eh? You been eating?
Mama?
See, he's a smarty pants. I'm mama, obviously. Like, you know, it's the mustache. He can tell. Ja, broer? Wil je nog even tv kijken? Hey. Hey. Hey, 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 hey. Wil je nog even tv kijken? Yeah? I'm just gonna put him in front of the television for a couple of minutes and then he can go to bed. I'll be right back, guys. About 2 minutes. Oh, and a few seconds. Doo-doo.
You.
There we go. So this is usually part of his routine. When he has had a sandwich, he can watch television for like 10 minutes to get him a little tired. And then he can take his afternoon nap. That usually works as a charm. Alright, so let me check. Because I missed a couple of messages. Let me quickly scroll up again. Clever baby, yep. eager to learn. My dad had to literally nail the front door shut to stop me from unlocking it and letting the dogs out. And that sounds really familiar. We haven't nailed the door. We have like a little fence that you can open as a door, but there's like a certain movement with your hand that you need to do to unlock it, and he's not smart enough for that just yet, you know. Plus you need a little force, and he's not strong enough for that yet. So I can go out, but he can't, and it's a blessing, because we didn't have that before, and I already caught him once when he was trying to get up the stairs, and trust me, that is scary. That you're like, where's my kid? Wait, where's my kid? And you walk to the stairs, and the one thing you see is just your child like 4 or 5 steps up, where you know that if he falls back, you know, it's gonna break his back. That's scary. So that happened. Mortar mouth. I would imagine that means that you're cussing a lot. I love a pacifier, and I scream and shout, make everyone around me search for it. He has that when he's sleeping. Like during the day, he doesn't need his pacifier, but when he goes to sleep, he needs his pacifier. If he doesn't have that, you're gonna have a bad time. When people do things for me, he hasn't changed. That's. I mean, I'm not gonna say that's true, just because I don't know you that well just yet. But I have a feeling that might be right. Mom says I never cried but mumbled and cooed constantly. I was talking like 4 months early, but I haven't shut up since. When I was about 3, my dad was having problems with his computer. He would have to reinstall the mouse drive every time he turned on his computer. One day, he came home to find me playing games on his computer. He told me I had learned to reinstall the mouse driver by watching him from behind the chair across the room. That is smart. And, you know, something like that on one side as a parent, you're like, oh, that's annoying because now I need to watch that. But on the other side, that makes you so proud, you know, as your child learns that. So that's so cool. Motor, spelled it wrong, talking fast. Okay, yeah, he's not that fast talking just yet, but he's currently in that sponge stage where every word that you say to him, he'll remember. In his way, like for one, like most words he remembers the way that you say. Some words he just makes his own word up. Best example that I have is the word vacuum cleaner, so stofzuiger in Dutch. He calls that kakishi. I have no idea why, but that's the stofzuiger. Children's launching. At least he doesn't use his thumb. That's called Asperger syndrome. Ah, okay, so that does explain it, yeah. But that I mean, that's the positive side of Asperger syndrome, right? Didn't cuss until I was in my college years. Luckily, he's not cussing either, but that's because we are watching. We were really watching with our language around him, because I already caught him once. I was playing a game, and he was just playing around with blocks or whatever he was playing over there. And I was playing a game, and something went wrong, and I was like, ah, shit. And like I said that a little loud, and he looked at me, and he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, so let's not say that around him again. I mean, I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind him saying a bad word or whatever. I mean, I don't want to be the parent that, like, especially when he's like 2 now, right? But when he gets a little older and he's like 8 or 9, and he, like, I don't know, he's doing something and he hurts himself and he says shit, that's fine. You know, I don't mind him cussing as long as it has a good reason, and as long as you're not cussing at someone. If you're cussing at something, there's nothing wrong with that. That's only human. It's a good way to get the stress out, you know? I'd rather have him say shit than punch you all, right? So, also let me move the cam a little bit back. It used to be there. That's better. No, but that's fair, right? Like my parents, I love my parents. They're wonderful people. But what my mother always taught me was that you shouldn't cuss. Like literally, like this was until I was like 18. Yeah, I was 17. I would hit my head and I would be like, you know, God damn it, godverdomme. And I would say that, and she's like, oh, don't cuss. And I was like, I just hurt my head. Like, what the hell? So, yeah, PG Dutch channel, yeah. Yeah, it's my bot doesn't remove the text, but it does say things. I programmed my bot myself, by the way, Jess. Like I wanted a bot that could do all the things that I wanted to do, so I made it myself. So he reacts to a whole lot of words, and this is one of them. Until Dutches think like shit, fuck, good, so I feel you. Yeah, yeah. Which is funny, by the way. I read an article on swearing, And for one, the Dutch people are very good at swearing. We are amongst the top 5 countries that swear the most, so that's one. We also use the worst cusses. Like, if you look at, like, Japan, for example, Japanese swearing is literally like, I hope your flowers in your garden will perish. And that's really something, right? So, they don't call someone, like, an asshole or whatever. So, English already has it a little bit more. I like asshole. The funny thing is, the Dutch are the only people that swear with diseases as much as we do. We actually wish cancer upon people. We wish typhus on people. We wish the plague on people. Just for being angry with someone. You actually wish them the most horrible diseases. Which is interesting, right? Like, you know, if you look at that from an outsider perspective, it's like, wow, you guys are really, like, this is not even potty mouth anymore. You know, this is neat sanitary cleanup mouth. My understanding is that they don't use the term Asperger's syndrome anymore. I believe they call it autism spectrum disorder now. Reclassified about 5 years ago. Asperger's syndrome is still used as a... Because my wife works in psychiatry, they do still use Asperger's syndrome over here. This might be a difference in country, of course, right? Because different country, different rules. In the Netherlands, they still do use the term Asperger's syndrome. However, it's not an on itself thing. It's usually linked to an autism spectrum qualification, because it's more than that. It's a scope that you're looking at. There's not, you cannot just help someone with Asperger, or you cannot treat Asperger. You know, you can't really treat it, but you can't just focus on that. There's more. There's a spectrum. So the spectrum part is definitely true. Greeks swear a bit too. I had a Greek colleague. I learned a couple of interesting swear words. Can't really think of one at the top of my head, but she taught me a couple, which were interesting. Like, it sounded friendly and tasty. To me, at least, so. They have another name for PDD-NOS, and they called it, we don't know what the hell's wrong with this kid. Yeah! PDD-NOS. It's like, okay, there is definitely something wrong with you, but we can't really classify it, so we're going to classify it as we can't classify it. I dated a guy who had PDD-NOS. I can imagine, because PDD-NOS is very invasive, right? Because it's there enough to be labeled as PDD-NOS. It's not just, you know, you're down or whatever, or it's like you have a trauma, because usually it's like trauma related, right? But this surpasses trauma. You can't just call it trauma. This is actually bad enough to label it as we can't label it. That's something to think about. So in Greek, if you can call someone malaka, you're calling him a jackoff. But to a Greek, you're calling him so much more, like unattractive and useless and unable to get a date only once. That's another thing, Sin, that I learned about the countries around the Mediterranean. So I called it like the Mediterranean vibe, if you will. Like over here, if you call someone gay, right? Unfortunately, that is still a cuss word, right? I don't really agree with that, but it is sometimes still a cuss word. People over here, luckily, don't really seem to mind that much, because we're very open and you know, our culture is like, yeah, so what, you know. If you call someone like a motherfucker or a gay in one of the countries around the Mediterranean, you're dead, because you insult their honor, right? Where in the Dutch really are like, we don't have any honor, you know, we have money, but we what's honor? You know, can I buy that? I have Irish and Italian in me. See, whenever someone says something like that, I have to follow up to that with like, do you also have some Dutch in you? And when you say no, I'd be like, do you want some? But I'm married and I'm a good guy now, so I can't. I just learned ADD isn't a thing anymore, so I'm ADHD with no hyperactive. Wasn't it easier just to remove the H? Yeah, ADD was a thing, wasn't it? I mean, my brother-in-law actually has a, I don't want to say a mild form, because there's no such thing as a mild form of, but he has he has ADD, not the hyperactive version, but he definitely has the ADD, but he is very aware of it, and he's very capable of managing it, so it's light with him, because he just can handle it himself very well. I was PDD-NOS before they re-diagnosed it as Asperger's. yeah, it can also be a container thing where people are like, okay, so we don't really know what's wrong with you. Might be this, might be that. We're just going to call it PDD NOS right now so we can at least continue treatment, and at some point we'll probably call it something else. I've seen that more than once when my wife told me like about certain cases that they have at her job. Since then I picked up a few other things. This is why they call it basket case, by the way, right? Because you just, you get a basket and you put stuff in. Kidding, of course. Greek and Italian here. I used a joke about Italian. Yeah, I can imagine, and Italian, right? Like, do you also do this? Like, because you are legit allowed to do that. Because, you have Italian descent, so you can do that legitimately. I have adult residual type ADHD. So that's the late in life version, right? Where you're very much aware of it, but you can't help it. So I believe that's the one. And PTSD, yeah, PTSD is a common one as well. Unfortunately, that's a very invasive disorder. Very much there. Very, very annoying for the person experiencing, mostly. About 7 to other 8 psychiatric illnesses that cannot be fully cured. That's the thing, right? That's when you have Asperger's or when you have PDD, NOS, or like autism, it's a spectrum issue. Like there's not just one thing. If it were, you'd be very easy to be treated because there are medicines that can treat a very specific disorder. Like if you have like anxiety, there's medicine to suppress anxiety. But if you have a spectrum issue, I mean, you can swallow like 8 to 9 different tablets, which will, help you. The only thing it'll do is just basically sedate you completely. So you'll be like, but at least then you won't cause the trouble. It's the best that we have right now. I can't really say if I'm against that or not. It's just, it's unfortunate that that's the only thing we have. But with the spectrum, you don't have a lot of options to treat everything equally, other than just sedating everything. And I mean, we have it in my family as well. My sister-in-law, so my wife's sister, was actually born with an oxygen deficiency. So she got like, if you have the DSM, like the psychologist manual, basically, she has basically a bit of everything. And yeah, I mean, I've seen she has like a multiple personality disorder as well. That is so interesting to see that happening. She has it on occasion when she's stressed, and then it comes out. But she has the same thing. She has a spectrum, like almost the entire spectrum, and she has so much medication that when she has a bad day and she has to take all of it, it's basically like they've given her a shot of something that she's just nothing for the rest of the day. Cured, no, but I'm a firm believer that spectrum order isn't a computer error. It's just a different operating system. It's an interesting way to see that, and I think I agree, because if it were a defect, if you will, like there can be one defect, right? If you have migraine is usually defect related. There's usually like a protein that is misbehaving or missing in the brain, so that's a defect, if you will, and because of that you get migraine. So you can say that is something that is wrong with you. That sounds very negative, right? But you get what I mean. But when you look at a spectrum, if you would say, okay, so there's damage across the spectrum, that would mean that your brains are basically just perforated or something. That doesn't work. If your brain is that damaged, it shouldn't live. It shouldn't work. It should shut down. And it doesn't. So apparently it's not the fact that it's damaged, it's just working differently. So different operating system. I like the way that you put that, because I think that's correct. I think I agree with that. Autism gave me things that I couldn't buy with money, time, or experience. I got an education in life that couldn't have been earned any other way. And there you go. There are definitely positive sides to this as well. So to me, it's priceless. When you can live with it, right? If you can live with it, if you can use it, you can see it as a skill. And I like that. When you, like, because autism isn't all bad. There are definitely bad sides to it. But so is being normal. There's bad sides to that as well. And the same goes with all the other things that you can have, right? They all have a plus side to them, and discovering them and using that to your advantage, I think, is the thing you can do. That's the best thing you can do with it, really. So I'm quickly looking at the time because it's almost 12:30, and my baby boy needs to go to sleep. He's ready. sitting like that in this chair, so I need to go and bring him to bed. So that means I'm also gonna end the stream for now, because I got a couple of things to do as well. When he's to bed, usually I do like some washing up and all that, because that's part of being at home. So I'm gonna do that. I will be back tonight with some Red Dead Redemption 2, most probably, which will be in about 6 to 7 hours ish. So if you are around, you're more than welcome to come here. If you're not, then you're still welcome, but I understand that you won't. I'm like the king on the chessboard. I'm useless on my own, but I hold the team together. And you can do every move that the best piece can do as well, just in your own way, in your own pace. Once again, good analogy. I like that. All right, so let me quickly have a look if we can raid someone, and then we will cut the stream there. Guys, thank you so much for joining the channel. It was fun. Like, I enjoy just having lunch with you guys like this. Enjoy your days, it's always lovely chatting with you, and likewise, Sin. So I hope you guys have a wonderful remainder of the day, or night in your case. Sleep well, and I hope to see you guys again soon. That being said, let's see if we can raid someone with a small amount of viewers right now. Usually around this time there's not a lot of people online. Really, there's one person which I do want to raid, but she has a lot of viewers at the moment, but she's gorgeous. And she's wonderful, and she's gorgeous on the inside as she is on the outside. She's called Dipped in Poison. She does fashion streams, actually. So usually she does a bit of just chatting, and then she tells how you can combine certain clothing, or what colors you should combine, what the images that you portray when you wear certain clothing. It's interesting to watch, actually. And other than that, she is just a beautiful lady. So let's go ahead and... You're the only one on my list at the moment. Oh, there you go. Nice to meet you too, Cybernetti, definitely. So let's go ahead and raid Dipped in Poison. She has like about 80 viewers at the moment, so it's not exactly a small channel. But do tell her I said hi if you want. There we go. And if you want, you can also do the raid message, which will be that one. That being said, everyone, have a good night, have a good day, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, wherever you are around the globe, and I will see you guys hopefully tonight. Bye-bye.
It's not that cold, but finally, it's so hot that when it rains or it's cold, we want it for a long time. And Papa, thank you for your raid. I appreciate it. How are you? How was stream? How are things? And welcome new friends with the Papa raid. Which reminds me, I need to fix up my hotkeys for my raid button.